think that's just natural, isn't it? I think that's going to happen in whatever context that you're working or living in. I think in regards to our school, it's really important to bear in mind where we are. So we're based in Haringey, sort of the fourth most deprived borough in London. The home life that a lot of our children experience, I think, influences very much what they think being a man might be, or how they depict masculinity. I think there's a really strong link to gang culture, sadly, just based on where a lot of our children grow up. So it is something that I think is a real concern for us as staff, but also for parents as well. I think a lot of, particularly the boys in our school, I think a lot of them are at least exposed to that gang culture, if not involved. And so I think with that brings a really narrow-minded view of what being a man is. So that sort of violent, aggressive, intimidation, everything on social media, MTV, YouTube, those kinds of things. It's sort of glamorized as being this really glamorous lifestyle. So actually, I think a lot of our children perhaps have this warped vision of what being a man is. But then on the flip side of that, you've also got children who I know will refer to their mother as their queen, or they'll be so protective over their sister, or they'll talk about their family in a really loving and affectionate way. And the boys are very much there for each other. I've seen situations where one of them might be upset, and this is year 11, and they're looking after them. So some of them can be really sensitive and really understanding and lovely boys. The majority of them are that, but I think there is that, I guess it's just the society that unfortunately they are finding themselves in, and perhaps with what has happened this year with COVID and lockdown in particular as well, they haven't had those role models that we'd have in school, those male role models that some of them desperately need because they don't have that father figure in their lives. And so because they haven't had that for so long, I do worry now that perhaps some of them have regressed. Yeah, I would say 9 times out of 10 it's positive, and it's something that's really motivational and it's exciting and it gets the class going. Obviously, there's times where that energy is perhaps not channeled in the correct way, and then that can make it difficult to teach a lesson. But no, I'd say in general it's a positive thing, and I think it can go one of two ways. I think for some of our less confident students, including boys and girls, I think that can either give them more confidence, like, okay, great, right, let's jump on board, let's really sort of jump on the bandwagon here and let's join them. Or it can have the opposite effect and they can go, oh, this isn't for me, this is a bit much. And I think that's where as a teacher you have to differentiate what's going on and you have to support those students in different ways. But generally speaking, I think it's a great thing. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see when we go back to doing practical lessons, hopefully in the near future, whether that is still the case or not. Actually, I've experienced what it's like to have that in a classroom over the last couple of months because I've been classroom based. And yeah, it's obviously not particularly helpful because you need them to be sat there doing the work. And there's none of that sort of outlet that they need for expelling their energy. So I suppose in those situations, it can be quite difficult. And in terms of engagement, it definitely has a negative effect. But again, I think it's up to the teacher to be able to channel that. I think that's your job. You know the students you're presented with. It's about using it in different ways. So if, for example, it means, right, that group of boys, maybe there's 3 or 4 of them that you know are really high energy and find it hard to sit down and concentrate for long periods of time, right, you need to give them perhaps scaffolded tasks, give them little chunks, make sure they're timed so they know, right, in 4 minutes we're moving on, so they know there's always the next thing, keeping the pace, giving them little jobs to do. That's what I found at our school, that particularly with Key Stage 3, if you've got someone who's got a little bit too much energy, give them a little job, hand out the books, clean the whiteboard, whatever it might be. And it just gives them that little bit of outlet rather than sitting there and waiting all the time. we did something similar actually back in, it's before Christmas now actually. So sort of start of last academic year, we sort of took our six students that we had the most concern for, shall we say, and they were boys in year 8, and we put them into this dance intervention. External agency came in, and they just learnt a routine for 6 weeks with this dance teacher. Street dance, they loved it. They got to choose the music, choose what they wear, and it worked really well. And the conversations that were able to come out of it were really productive. And actually, just by having it in sort of quite a casual way, just sort of there right at the end of the session, having their cool down, they're stretching, they're doing, it's not like a direct conversation, it's just general chit chat. And the things that this teacher was able to get out of them was really insightful, and something that form teachers hadn't been able to do, because he'd been able to invest that time in them, and they were able to acknowledge that as well. They could see that he was investing his time in them, and I think because of that, they felt able to then, or they felt they wanted to share things with him.